Recently, my dad asked me for some advice about what microphone to buy for some voice work, and I told him I'd get one for him since he didn't have a lot of options where he lives. And while the obvious choice was a simple plug-and-play USB mic, I figured I'd also look at eBay for some second-hand mics to get more bang for my buck. And that's when I found a whole host of SM7Bs being sold at irresistible prices. Now, I never go for listings on eBay that have only stock photos because in my opinion, they're obvious scams. But I found a listing with real photos that showed the inside of the box with the mic and all the bits and pieces, and a reasonable description, so I figured I'd take a punt. And of course, what arrived was a fake SM7B, which is actually this one right here. In hindsight, it's pretty obvious because I paid about £80 or just over $100 for a mic that normally costs 4 times that. But when it arrived, I was actually surprised at how much effort had gone in to copy everything about the product, from the mic itself to the box, and even the manuals inside. There are definitely a few tells, like the foam shield being much worse quality, and the cable also clearly being a different material. But this isn't a video about spotting a fake. There are loads of good ones already on YouTube about that, so go check those out if that's what you're after. What I was more interested in was the sound itself. Because sure, you're not getting the real SM7B, but you're also paying a quarter of the price. So if the mic sounds even half as good, then you're golden, right? Well, maybe not, as we're about to find out. So in the rest of the video, I'll be doing a few of the standard tests with both the real and the fake SM7B, and I'll write which one you're hearing down below. And in fact, maybe you noticed, but I've been switching back and forth between them during this whole intro. And hopefully we can answer the question of whether a fake SM7B sounds any good. So let's just start with a basic sound test between the two. I'll read a couple of sentences, and we can listen to how the mics sound with no processing and the exact same preamp gain setting. 2 blue fish swam in a tank, and her purse was full of useless trash. 2 blue fish swam in a tank, and her purse was full of useless trash. 2 blue fish swam in a tank, and her purse was full of useless trash. 2 blue fish swam in a tank, and her purse was full of useless trash. Now already you can tell there's a difference there. The SM7B is notorious for its low sensitivity and low output, which needs a lot of gain usually, or an inline preamp like a cloud lifter or a dynamite. But the fake one seems to be a lot more sensitive, suggesting that the internals are completely different. Now let's move on to plosives. One of the most common differences between the real SM7B and the fake one is that the capsule sits higher up inside the body in the fake one, which should technically make plosives more obvious. But let's see. First, let's do it in this position where we're a little bit off axis, and then I'll also speak directly into each mic to see how it does on axis. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. 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 Now, aside from the capsule sitting higher in the body, it's also very likely that in the fake one, the capsule itself is different, since it's usually one of the most expensive parts of a microphone. This will also have the side effect that the polar pattern is potentially different, and the mic's ability to reject sounds from the back and sides might be affected. So we'll test that next, but since I've picked up the mic and I'm moving it around, let's also have a look at the handling noise of the mic. This is the real SM7B. So if I grab it, and if I tap it, this is what it sounds like. And now the handling noise test on the fake SM7B. So if I grab it, I'm tapping it now. As you can probably hear, it's significantly more audible on the fake one, which will be a combination of the capsule, the materials used in the body, and some other corners cut in the construction of this. Now let's move on to the polar pattern tests. So this is me speaking into the real SM7B, and as I start to rotate it, you'll probably hear my voice changing, and maybe you can't really hear me very much, but now I'm going all the way to the back, and this is how it rejects the sound from the back. And now, as I'm going back to the on axis, it sounds like this. This is me speaking directly into the fake SM7B, and now as I start to rotate it and it goes off axis, this is how much it's rejecting my voice. And my voice probably still sounds a bit weird, but I wonder if the rejection is as much as the real one. And now as I come back around, I'm still speaking and I'm going more and more on axis, and this is how I sound. Okay, so before I tell you my thoughts, I'd encourage you to think about the differences in the sound between the two, and write your thoughts in the comments down below. Does the fake one sound as bad as you expected? And does the real SM7B sound 4 times better? Obviously, go back and listen again if you haven't quite made up your mind yet. Now, I have to start off by saying I thought that they sounded more alike than I expected. However, that doesn't mean that they're that close in sound either. The real one's warm, bassy sound, with slightly scooped low mids and a slight sparkle, is not there in the fake one. It sounds much thinner and muddy on the mids, with the highs being less clear than the real one, at least on my voice. But even if you thought that it sounds good for a mic that's a quarter of the price, let me give you some reasons why you shouldn't buy these fake ones. Simply put, the fake SM7B is a scam product. This is not a legitimate mic competing with the SM7B, or even a clone design like a lot of the stuff that Behringer or Warm Audio make. This is a random mic of unknown specifications pretending to be an SM7B. When you buy a real one, you know that there's been significant effort put into quality control, and if something goes wrong, you have a warranty or at least customer service to fall back to. And you know that at least some portion of the money that you pay will go back into manufacturing and R&D. When you're buying a fake, there are zero guarantees for the quality and safety of what you're getting. This specific one might not be completely horrible, but you could easily get one that's super noisy, for example, or just straight up dies a month after you buy it, and then you'd have no one to complain to if it did. Because again, this is a scam product. There's no legitimate company behind this product. Do you think that the scammers who are pretending to be Shure offer aftermarket customer support? Or are you going to ask for support from Shure? You might say that the fake SM7B doesn't sound that bad, and after all, it's a lot cheaper than the real thing. But guess what? There are dozens of legit microphones out there that are much cheaper than an SM7B, and they still sound really good. And a lot of them are actually even cheaper than this fake. So the only thing that the fake SM7B has that all of these other mics don't is that it looks like an SM7B. But are you really buying a mic because of how it looks? Unfortunately, for lots of creators that mostly seem to crave the optics of using an SM7B, the answer is probably yes. And that's definitely a big part of why this large market of fakes even exists. The SM7B's ubiquity on podcasts and shows on YouTube, together with its very expensive price tag, has turned it into somewhat of a status symbol. But I hope that we can agree that we're better than that, and that we care about more than just appearances. So the main point I'm trying to make is, if you want/need the real thing, go get the real thing. And if you can't justify the price for what you're getting, then go for one of the many legit high-quality alternatives out there. Take for instance these two dynamic mics. Both have exceptional build and sound quality at a fraction of the price, and we've used them in many of our videos. And if price is not an issue, you might want to check out a potentially even better alternative that we are fans of. If you want to see that against the SM7B, then go watch this video over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Mixed Signals. Bye bye.